Yo, what's up? This is my DKC1 any% aka 7% tutorial. So if you're watching this, you're most likely either a new player to the game who's kind of curious about running this game, and you just want to kind of try out a short category just to get a feel about how the game works, or you might be somebody who already runs a game and you have no idea how the fuck this warp works. Either way, I will be going through the noob route, which essentially loses something like 3 to 5 seconds over the really fast route, just to give people or whoever's watching a sense of how do you actually do this warp, what are the variables, and stuff like that. Because honestly, the warp is not too bad. There's a lot of one frame bullshit, but it's manageable. So anyway, let's go in. So the first notable thing about this level in 1-1 is that we skip Diddy, and the reason that we do that is because we want to, after we beat 1-1, we want to re-enter the level and do a glitch which basically kind of glitches our Kongs. So one thing I want to point out here that's important is that if you don't run this game, you can actually, on level completion, you can actually mash your buttons. Typically I just mash Y and B with my thumb, and you can skip the fanfare after you complete a level. And basically, you know, this is pretty useful in a speedrun. I think if you do it on every level, you net something like 50 to 1 minute over not doing it. So, you know, it definitely adds up. But that's any % all stages, of course. But anyway, what I do after finishing 1-1 is that I mash YB and I hold up. And what that does for me is I skip the fanfare and I keep Donkey locked on the stage. If I don't hold up, then basically Donkey just decides to go to 1-2. And the reason for that is we want to go back to 1-1 so that we can get this Kong glitch. So we're back in 1-1. So now what we want to do is we want to throw the DK barrel and basically start select out of the level once the barrel is in the air. This is pretty easy. I mean, pretty much anybody can do this. You don't really need any expertise in this game at all to pull this off. But you just want to make sure that the barrel doesn't hit the ground when you start select. Otherwise, you know, your timing fucked up. So, you know, I just kind of pause there. So, you know, like this is fine. As long as it's in the air and it's out of your hands, it's basically fine. So I'm just going to start select. And now, I've got the glitch. And I'm just going to make a save state here. And get ready for the next part of this glitch, which is the map warp. And basically, there is a pivot between 1-1 and 1-2. You see how the path to 1-1 goes down and then it starts to go diagonally left. There's basically a pivot point in the map where Donkey stops for 1 frame, and during that 1 frame, if you hit a button, any button, then you can actually enter that level. And the reason why you can hit any button is because when you're on the map screen and you're actually on a level, you can hit any button to enter a level. So for that 1 frame that Donkey passes this pivot point, if you hit a button, you can map warp. And I don't know 100% of the details on why this works, but I do know that it works when you only have 1 Kong active on the map screen, and that's because it has to do something with, because whenever you have 2 Kongs out, you can only enter a level when both Kongs are on a level, but since you only have 1 Kong, Donkey, for whatever reason, or Diddy even, will pause for 1 frame. And it just so happens that you can hit a button on that 1 frame to map warp, and it just so happens to take you to world 3. So anyway, the best way to do it, in my opinion anyway, a lot of people will tell you different things, is to mash all your buttons. And when I mean mash all your buttons, on a Super Nintendo controller, what I do is I basically just rub my thumb over YBAX, basically all at once, and I hope for the best. So that's really the best advice, and pretty much anybody who runs this category mashes. There's really no consistent way to get in the map warp. But you know, if you're a new player it's not really too important that you get the map warp first try. If you can get it first try, that's cool, but if you can't, you can't. Another thing that some other players like to do, I won't name anybody in particular, but some people like to mash with spoons, and I have nothing against this personally, but yeah, I don't know. I don't, you know, whatever. I don't really care. But to be honest, somehow this particular player is very, very, very consistent with spoon mashing. Like, he will get map warp first or second try, pretty much always, from what I've seen anyway. But you know, you can do whatever you want. You can spoon it, you can thumb it. Americans don't really approve of turbo, but I mean, obviously, if you turboed, you would be able to get the map warp every time, first try. But you know, whatever. Back to the route here. So we are in, this is what, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 3-4? This is 3-4, 3-5 actually. So we're in 3-5. And what we're gonna do at this point, because this is a noob route, is we're just gonna go left and kill ourselves over the void. But before that, I'm gonna demonstrate what happens if you get hit when we have this Kong glitch stored. So this is what happens if you have the Kong glitch stored and you get hit. Basically, the game thinks that you have 2 Kongs active, but you only actually have 1, and you basically get in this soft lock state. So at any point during the run, if you get hit like this, it's pretty much reset, because there's nothing you can do, you soft locked. So don't let that happen. So like I said, we're gonna go left, and to avoid the soft lock, we're gonna get ourselves hit on the orangutan who throws the barrels, but land in the void. And basically, whenever a Kong lands in the void, he enters basically that kill zone. And you know, if you're in the kill zone, the game says, oh, you know, you're dead. Go back to the beginning of the level, to the map screen. So we can avoid the soft lock completely as long as we hit that kill zone. So jump over here. There's a guy here, so you gotta be careful about this guy. Typically, when I'm doing this warp, I'm already holding left to make sure I don't hit that guy. So, like that. And then just jump into this guy, fall down. As you can see, Donkey was in that soft lock state when he was falling down, but we were able to avoid the soft lock completely because we fell in the void. And that becomes really important because that allows us to do the bonus warp, which we'll get into soon. So I'm just gonna kind of breeze through this real quick. I enter the level, and I'm holding left, and I basically roll left, grab the tin can. I'm gonna throw the tin can, and I'm gonna ride it. And I'm gonna ride it until a certain point, at which point I'm still holding Y, and I'm just gonna press B right here. Grab the tin can, and I'm just gonna kind of navigate through here. Now, it's really, 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 really important that you do not lose your tin can, because if you lose your tin can, it's not as bad as soft locking, but it might as well be, because you're gonna have to just kill yourself. And typically, you would just come here and just drop in this void and kill yourself, or you would kill yourself earlier in that B void. But anyway, pretty much if you ever lose this tin can, it's automatic reset, and I guess a real speed run. But if you're in a race, you still have some fallback. But anyway, we're gonna navigate up here, and I'm just gonna, this is a really, really small little optimization that I'm not gonna go too much in detail with, but basically I'm holding, when I start falling off that ledge, I'm holding down right, and I let go of Y so that I drop the tin can in the air and land on the croc at the same time. So it's just a nice little time saver. If you can't do it, don't worry too much about it. You can just, you know, wait for the croc to come around. You miss a cycle, you miss a couple of seconds, but if you're still learning the route and you're not comfortable doing this, then don't worry about it. So now we have the tin can in place. I'm gonna save state here, and the next objective is to get Invisible Barrel. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab Espresso, we're gonna put him on the tin can, then we're gonna get off Espresso, grab the tin can, then ride the tin can. And for whatever reason, if you're riding the tin can and you pick it up, you can actually pick up the tin can and ride on Espresso at the same time. So what happens is that you're riding Espresso and Espresso is holding a tin can, and this happens to be the window in which you can get Invisible Barrel. And then with Invisible Barrel, does for us is basically it basically changes a bunch of memory addresses, which allows us to ultimately warp to World 6. I'm not going to get too much into the details about how the map warp or the bonus warp works. I'll link Tampa's task notes in case anybody is interested, but I'm just gonna go over how do you actually do it. So here we go. Grab espresso. Let's get the tin can. So I'm holding Y, and then I hit A to dismount off espresso there. Now I have the tin can in my hands. Jump, throw, ride, press B. So the window there to get on espresso with the tin can is actually pretty huge. Like, you just basically have to be in the general vicinity of espresso and you'll be able to do it. There's no one frame trick. There's no, like, you know, certain frame window. I'm sure there is a frame window, but you know, it's huge. So don't worry too much about it. So the last part of this trick is actually getting the invisible barrel, and to do that we're basically just hitting this, and that gives us Invis Barrel. Now I forgot to mention that it's really important once you get the tin can on espresso to never let go of Y until you're actually going to open the bonus coming up, because if you do, this is what happens. You basically get some fucked up sprite and it's not good. Another thing to not do is, so you hit this halfway and you're going to be continuing on, and then oh shit, I just hit Diddy. Well, everything's over at this point. You just have a bunch of fucked up shit on the screen, and I'm not even gonna go into any details on what the hell's happening. But yeah, don't hit the DK barrel, otherwise it's auto reset. So this next section, I'm just gonna kind of quickly go over, but it's important to kind of just have good movement and don't hit the DK barrel. That's basically my prime advice here. So I'm just gonna kind of breeze through this real quick. And once you get about here, this is where I'm gonna make a save state here. This is where things are actually very important, because your movement here kind of decides what sprite gets loaded into the invisible barrel. So if your movement's bad and you have the wrong things on the screen at the wrong time, then you won't be able to open this bonus correctly. And I'm going to give an example of actually I will give an example on how it should look, and I'll give kind of an example of how it shouldn't look. So basically I'm going to go down here. I just let go Y to pause. But anyway, what I did there was I tried to keep my distance as low to the ground as possible, and basically that will ensure that I'll have a barrel loaded into the sprite where the invisible barrel is looking, essentially. And because I have a barrel loaded, I'm able to open the bonus. So let me just go through that real quick again. Shit. Alright. So here we go, keep low. And then same thing here, I'm going to keep low. So at this point, I should have the right sprite loaded into the invisible barrel, and I should be able to open the bonus correctly. And I'm not going to do a correct bonus opening right now, I'm just kind of demonstrating the entire sprite idea. So that was actually an incorrect opening, which I'm going to get into later. So anyway, this could be something that would be incorrect, where, you know, I'm like super high up here, and like I'm just kind of going around. I go over here, it didn't open, and that's because I didn't have the right things on the screen coming up to this point. So if you come here and you threw the barrel and you get a basically fucked up donkey, that means that you did not have the right things on the screen going up to this point. You should try to focus on what I do here and keep really low, because that will ensure that you get the barrel loaded in the invisible barrel sprite. Alright, so now I'm gonna go over pretty much, in my opinion, the hardest part of this trick, and this is super unintuitive if you have no idea what's going on. But let me get to this point here. Okay, I'm just gonna save state here. So Basically, what's really important about this trick is where we open this bonus. And basically that's because the distance at where we open the bonus, that value is used to determine where we warp. So if we're too far, we can end up warping to World 4. If we're too close, we can end up warping to like World 1. And there's basically, I mean, there's like a finite amount of permutations of this, but in order to get to where we need to get, we need to basically release this invisible barrel, like, such that we're not touching the wall, but such that we're not far enough back. And you can usually tell when you get it or not based on the fucked up donkey sprite. So let me try this. So for example, this, we didn't get a really fucked up donkey sprite, but it might have still been too close. So we'll find out. And now, this is probably the second hardest part of the trick. And this is basically where you want to be in position here when you throw this barrel. You want, there's a couple of things that people like to use to align this spot, but one thing you can look at is donkey's feet in respect to that hole in front of him. You can use donkey's nose in respect to that leaf in the back of him, or you can use donkey's tie, which probably is like the most intuitive marker. You want to have donkey's tie like basically almost in front of that hole. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to release Y, repress Y, and then start holding right. And my goal here is that I'm going to have the DK barrel explode, and I want both Kongs to enter or exit the bonus at the same time. And basically that becomes important in manipulating the exit value of this bonus. And if we do it correctly, then we would warp to mincers. So let's try it. And there you go. That's how you get to mincers. So I'm gonna kind of go over this part a little bit more in detail because it can be kind of hard. I'm gonna demonstrate the Kipples setup here, which a lot of people are gonna hate me for doing this, but I think it's really good for beginners who are having problems kind of getting the warp consistent, as in you're opening the bonus but you're warping to the incorrect locations. And basically the Kipples setup is you hug this wall here, you tap left so that you're not touching the wall, and then you're gonna release Y and repress Y and hold right, like that. And I think I might have been too close to the wall, but in which case I'm gonna kind of demonstrate what happens if you are too close to the wall. So let's get in position here. Now this can take a variable amount of time depending how comfortable you are with this setup. But anyway, we're in position here. So yeah, this is what happens if you're too close to the bonus when you open it. As I said earlier, what really matters and where you warp in the bonus or from the bonus is how close you are to the door when you open it. So I was too close and I ended up warping here. This is, if you warp to this bonus, it always means that you warped or you opened the bonus too early. Alright, so back to the Kipples setup here. Let's get in position. Looks good. Get in the right spot here. Release Y, repress it, hold right. Good. So yeah, that's basically the basics of the Kipples setup there. I'm not really going to go into details on how to beat this level. I'm just going to kind of show you how to get here. You're on your own unbeaten this level, which, in my opinion, Espresso Mincers is probably like the best level in the game. So I'm sure you'll have fun learning it. But back here, this is like the standard warp. If you're not going to do the Kipples setup, this is like the standard warp where you're basically just going to charge into the wall, get right into position, and just release and repress Y. And I mean, this really isn't too difficult, but it kind of requires a bit of precision. And obviously it's faster than the Kipples setup, so there you go. That looks good. Let's just go ahead and try to land this. I actually had it good in the beginning there, but I missed it. So yeah, it's pretty common to do this like kind of scoot thing with donkey till you get in the right position. So that was good as well. So I'm just gonna quickly go over some of the outcomes on throwing the DK barrel incorrectly, and what will you look for to identify what you're doing wrong. So I'm gonna purposely just kind of go way out here, and I'm gonna throw it such that, actually I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm gonna throw it such that it means that donkey, I entered the warp too early, or the exit too early. So that's what it looks like. And in this situation, you'll pretty much always warp to 1-1. With that situation where Diddy jumps up, it usually always means that donkey, or you entered the warp too early with donkey. So the last thing, the only other possible outcome, which is more rare, I guess you could say, is entering too late. And this is what that looks like. Basically, donkey doesn't even enter, the glitch Diddy enters, and you basically soft lock. And I can't even load my save state at this point, so you have to reset. But yeah, that pretty much covers the basics on the entire warp. So I hope this was able to help somebody out there. Maybe. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Peace.